Okay, we're up to the method section, page 34 of my 2016 Action Criticism and Theory for Music Education article called Music Educated and Uprooted, My Story of Rurality, Whiteness, Musicking, and Teaching. Method: Autoethnography. In recent years, especially since the 1970s, autoethnography has arisen as a vital research method in educational contexts, including music education. Gozaiasis et al. Recommended, quote, a 21st century ethos of music education research, an ethical, spiritual, and heartful future that embraces music making and storied writing about music making in all its uncontrolled, rebellious, and glorious perfect imperfection, end quote. Autoethnography is at the heart of that ethos. According to Ellis and Adams, quote, autoethnography refers to research, writing, stories, and methods that connect the autobiographical and personal to the cultural, social, and political, end quote. Because of the uncontrolled nature of autoethnographic writing, auto, self, and ethnography, a research tradition, can be emphasized or de-emphasized. Some autoethnographies use previous literature heavily, and some use no references at all. As a way of inquiry and an orientation to the living of life, autoethnography may be particularly well suited for the Mayday group, with its ideal of addressing social issues surrounding equality and privilege that stem from identity construction such as socioeconomic status, ability, race, sexual orientation, age, gender, sex, ethnicity, and religion. In fact, autoethnographic techniques have been used in action criticism and theory for music education. For instance, Bates, Roberta Lamb, Ellis, and Adams suggest a reason autoethnography has become important is because of the heightened attention to identity politics in academia. Autoethnographies emphasize personal experience, use existing research, critique cultural experiences, use insider knowledge, add nuance, help people heal from painful experiences, and use accessible prose. Because of the important role ACT plays within the field of music education, the current autoethnography emphasizes personal experience, existing research, and critique to discuss theory. Data collection. Data for this autoethnography were originally collected as a collective autoethnography. Research co-presented at the International Society for the Sociology of Music Education conference in New Orleans, Louisiana, with Vincent Bates. Our collective research included his previously published research, Skype interviews, journaled personal reflections based on prompts suggested by both researchers, and comments by each other on these reflections and literature brought in to understand these experiences on Google Docs. Data analysis. One way that Ellis and Adams recommend becoming an autoethnographer is to make a study of autobiography. To accomplish this, I studied and practiced exercises out of Your Life as Story. One of these exercises is shared in this research as data of the fairy tale on page 42. Shared as How a Boy Replanted His Roots. In this collaborative autoethnography presented with Vincent Bates, 6 themes arose: church, music styles, environment, community, dominance of class, and feelings of uprootedness. Though each of our experiences in rural places, mine in Pennsylvania and Vincent's in Utah and Nevada, were unique in many ways, these themes were essential to both of our experiences. Because in the current autoethnography, I am presenting my experience separate from Vincent's, the weight of each theme is unique to my experiences. Feelings of uprootedness, through analysis of my personal journal, emerged as more dominant than the other themes, though each of the other themes were related to this central theme. Further, for me, returning to Pennsylvania, to Western Pennsylvania to teach, and then Central Pennsylvania to attend graduate school, was a process of rerouting, replanting, rounding out the story structure. The central theme for this autoethnography is roots, with the sub-themes being church, music styles, and dominance of class. Rayner's essential elements of story structure also inspired this write-up and is part of the analysis process. These are the initiating incident, problem, desire line, struggle with adversary, interim pivotal events, precipitating event, crisis, climax, realization. Rather than directly following this structure, because this write-up presents the autoethnographic tradition and is primarily guided by a thematic structure more familiar to readers of research, Rainer's elements played a more indirect inspiration. In particular, the element initiated incident inspired December 1997 withering. The problem and desire line were identified also here, but more extensively in how a boy replanted his roots. Struggling with adversity and interim pivotal events are shared also in rejecting popular musicking and singing at Mass. These elements are interspersed with relevant literature from music education, education in other fields, philosophy, religious studies, etc., to provide scholarly context to my story of rurality, whiteness, musicking, and teaching. With these methodological choices in mind, I choose to write this paper primarily in first person to emphasize the subjective nature of my experience, including the experience of writing this paper. Finally, each theme was analyzed artistically through the composition of haiku, 4 in total: roots, 1, institutionalized, and inequities. In music education research, poetry has been used to portray more than information. It helps portray emotion, eliciting fervent responses and engenders feelings of community. Haiku, which are inherently fleeting and impressionistic, have been used in music education scholarship, including in ACT. Following the now century-old American haiku tradition, in which the large majority ignore the 575 syllable count, haikus are, in beat poet Jack Kerouac's words, short 3-line poems, simple and free of poetic trickery. Each haiku is shared in the end of its respective section, providing a concise impressionistic endpoint for the theme. Okay, there we go. That's a methodological section of that paper. I'm going to stop there and continue next time. So autoethnography definitely always felt ever new at that point 10 years ago when I was writing this, and got a lot of pushback actually from reviewers, which is not a problem. That's very common to get pushback from reviewers, especially from action criticism and theory for music education reviewers who are particularly critical, right? And it's actually a good thing, because getting pushback in a review, well, it can be an act of love, right? So some of them are pushing back pretty hard to really, with the goal of making you do better. There are others who are not helpful, right? Some of them aren't helpful, but they're still trying to do it out of love. They have that intention there, and that's fine as well, right? But ultimately, good research papers come out of the process, right? Good, interesting papers. Sometimes you can tell when a paper gets worse through review, though, right? This could be just the out of sync nature of the reviewers with a particular writer and their goal. And finally, they've just given up and say, okay, that's good enough, right? We're going to get it done. No research is perfect. In fact, not even this research paper is perfect. But I had really good reviewers. I don't know who they were. The reviewers really did make this better. I had at least one that I can remember who wanted me to push a certain way that I didn't want to, and I didn't, right? And it went back and forth, I think, twice, I think, with him or her. On the method section, on the methodology, right? I had other ones who didn't quite understand using the first person through a research paper still. That's become more common now, which is wonderful. Not just my work, but Janine Nichols. There's a lot of other writers who have done autoethnographies just before and since mine in the field that I think it's probably become more common. I think I've even seen autoethnographies in more conservative journals in our field, like JRME. Have a blessed day.